The Heike Monogatari, or The Tale of Heike, is widely considered to be one of the greatest works in Japanese medieval literature. While it is at least partly fictional, it is also the most detailed description that we have of the conflict between the Taira and Minamoto clans, culminating in the legendary Genpei War of the late 12th century. The end of the Genpei War and the subsequent establishment of the Kamakura shogunate would be the beginning of the samurai's centuries-long grip on the Japanese government and society. The Tale of Heike is filled with countless men and warriors, all competing for power and influence. But among all of these strong samurai, one in particular stood out. A person that fascinated readers and went on to inspire future generations of artists for centuries to come. Tomoe Gozen, a woman turned samurai that is best described by the Tale of Heike itself. With her white skin, long hair, and attractive face, Tomoe was the most beautiful. She was also a strong archer and a spirited soldier, on horseback or on foot, fit to confront a demon or a god. She was worth 1,000 warriors. She was superb at breaking in wild horses, she was fearless in rough descents. Whenever battle was drawn, Yoshinaka sent her as his first captain in heavy armor, with a great sword and a powerful bow. She won greater glory for her name than the other warriors. So apparently, this Tomoe Gozen was not only a female samurai, she was also one of the best warriors out there. But where did she come from? How did she manage to become such a strong warrior? And what happened to her after the Genpei War? Let's find out. This is the story of Tomoe Gozen, the female samurai legend. Before I start talking about the story of Tomoe Gozen, it's important to note that some of the information that we have about her comes from legends rather than actual facts. We are talking about a person from more than 800 years ago, after all. Actually, we might not even know what her real name is. Tomoe might have been her given name, but Gozen was a title given to honorable women in Japan at the time. Tomoe's early life is a bit of a mystery as well, but what we do know is that she was trained for combat in a way that seems to be very unusual for women of this time period. Women participating in battles were actually not as rare as one might think. From as early as the 9th century, women were taught how to use weapons, with the so-called naginata being the preferred choice of weaponry. The naginata was a blade attached to a long pole and was particularly popular among warrior monks. It was a defensive weapon that made it pretty easy to unseat a mounted warrior, perfect for samurai wives who were not expected to fight on the battlefield. Rather, they were expected to defend their home in case of an attack. Tomoe Gozen was different though. She was trained for the actual battlefield, using a katana sword as well as a bow and arrow, just like male warriors did. Not much else is known about Tomoe or her upbringing and childhood, but we do have some important information about her parents, her mother in particular. Allegedly, she was the menoto, or wet nurse, of none other than Kiso Yoshinaka, a member of the legendary Minamoto clan and one of the most significant samurai of the 12th century. Yoshinaka lost his father as a result of a samurai conflict when he was only a year old. Following his father's death, he was given to and raised by adoptive parents, who, if the legends are to be believed, were also the parents of Tomoe Gozen. Kiso Yoshinaka was also the cousin of a man named Yoritomo, who in 1180 assembled multiple clans of the Kanto region in the east of Japan, kickstarting a rebellion against the government in the Kansai region to the west. Yoshinaka was not on good terms with Yoritomo, to say the least, but they both agreed to set aside their differences in order to wage war against the capital in Kyoto, a war that came to be known as the Genpei War. Yoshinaka and his army played a significant role in the Genpei War. In fact, it was his victory at the Kurikara Pass that allowed him, and with him the Minamoto clan, to march into Kyoto for the first time ever, allegedly causing quite a scene upon his arrival in the capital. Generally, he was always described as a notoriously uncultured man by the Tale of Heike, a stereotypical samurai from the provinces that those in the capital generally looked down upon. During his short rule over Kyoto, Yoshinaka had multiple heated arguments with retired Emperor Go Shirakawa, who still enjoyed great power and influence at this time. On top of that, his cousin Yoritomo, who he didn't get along with anyway, was now his biggest enemy. The Minamoto clan could only have one leader, and it would be either Yoshinaka or Yoritomo, who still had not yet arrived in Kyoto at this point in time. It was the Battle of the Ujigawa River in 1184 that saw the Minamoto forces on Yoritomo's side defeat large parts of Yoshinaka's army, forcing him to finally give up and flee Kyoto altogether. Now, why did we just take a 2-minute detour from Tomoe Gozen's story in order to talk about this guy? Well, because it is here, following Yoshinaka's escape from the capital, that the tale of Heike mentions Tomoe for the first time. Upon his departure, Yoshinaka chose to take with him 40 of his strongest and most loyal warriors. Soon, that number had dwindled down to only 6 men and 1 woman. To continue the quote from the beginning of the video, whenever a battle was drawn, Yoshinaka sent her as his first captain in heavy armor, with a great sword and a powerful bow. She won greater glory for her name than the other warriors. And now that all had fallen or fled, she was among the final 7 riders. The relationship between Tomoe and Yoshinaka is a complicated topic. Depending on which text you choose to read, she was either one of his military leaders, his concubine, or in some cases even his wife. Nevertheless, it would make sense for Yoshinaka to share a close relationship with his foster sister Tomoe. Between the siblings of a powerful clan like the Minamoto, huge amounts of infighting for power and influence were guaranteed. But Tomoe, who he was not related to by blood, had no desire or wasn't entitled to any honors or titles that Yoshinaka might have aimed for. She was a loyal soldier that he could count on, and maybe even more than that. Following his retreat, Yoshinaka witnessed his final battle on February 21st, 1184. During the Battle of Awazu, Tomoe is said to have defeated 2 very strong warriors. One of them, a samurai by the name Hatakeyama, was apparently defeated in such convincing manner that he chose to run away, instead of tainting his name with the defeat by the hands of a woman. The second warrior, called Uchida, was defeated and decapitated by Tomoe. The battle as a whole, however, did not go their way. Staring into the face of defeat, Yoshinaka told Tomoe to flee the battlefield. "I shall die in battle, or if I am wounded, I shall take my own life. But it shall not be said that Lord Kiso came to his final end in the company of a woman." Tomoe refused to leave Yoshinaka. The tale of Heike states the following. Tomoe made no move to go, but Yoshinaka insisted until at last she said, "At least I would like a worthy opponent. I would like to show you, my Lord Kiso, my last combat in your service." So she lay in wait for an enemy. And there appeared one famous for his strength throughout the province of Musashi, Onda no Hachiro Morishige, with 30 horsemen. Tomoe charged in among them, went straight to Onda no Hachiro, fiercely seized him, and pinned his head on the pommel of her saddle, then wrenched it around, cut it off, and tossed it away. After that, she removed her armor and escaped toward the east. This dramatic scene in the tale of Heike is highly debated. What were Yoshinaka's true intentions when he told Tomoe to leave? Was he actually embarrassed to die next to a woman? Or was his dying wish to see his wife, concubine, or military leader survive his final battle? Some say that he told Tomoe to escape and go to his homelands in order to tell his story. This leads us to yet another highly debated part of the story, the escape of Tomoe and what happened to her afterwards. One version of the story states that Wada Yoshimori, a samurai lord, clubbed her over the head with a pine trunk before abducting her and making her his concubine. Yet another story sees Wada Yoshimori make her his wife in order to produce children that would surely make for strong warriors. The Wada family did actually exist, but was completely wiped out in an uprising in the year 1213. Sources claim that following this uprising, Tomoe was able to escape, spending the rest of her life as a nun before dying at the age of 90. Now, whatever version of the story we choose to believe, it is certainly a story that has endured and fascinated many readers over the years. References to Tomoe can be found everywhere, including anime, video games, movies, and books. Just recently, while replaying Ghost of Tsushima, I myself stumbled upon a reference to Tomoe. One questline in the game centers around a character named Sensei Ishikawa and his incredibly skilled student, who was captured by the Mongols but ultimately ended up joining them. The name of this student was, you guessed it, Tomoe. Except for her name and skills in battle, this character does not have a lot in common with Tomoe Gozen. Still, I found this to be a cool little reference to the legendary female samurai. She can also be seen at the annual Chidai Matsuri, or Festival of the Ages, in Kyoto, which celebrates the ancient history of the city. Multiple figures from medieval times are portrayed at this festival, including Tomoe. Whether or not the tale of Tomoe Gozen is entirely or partly fictional, it is surely a fascinating one. Interestingly though, Tomoe is far from the only woman who managed to become a brave samurai. Hell, she isn't even the only female warrior mentioned in the tale of Heike. A second quote-unquote attendant of Yoshinaka called Yamabuki fell ill and had to be left behind in Kyoto, while the rest of the army escaped the capital. Then there's the story of Empress Chingu, who in 200 AD, 1,000 years before Tomoe gained notoriety, allegedly led an invasion of Korea. Then there's the legendary Nakano Takeko and the Choshitai unit of female samurai. But those girls might actually deserve their own videos in the future, so for now, I'll call it a day. Are there any other legendary samurai or figures from Japanese history that you would like to hear about? Let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you haven't already. Either way, thank you so much for watching. Sayonara.